Hey, welcome to another episode of Becoming a TechnoWizard. Finally, once again, so freaking sorry. This is why like building new habits and just doing things consistently takes persistence because you're gonna fail so many times. I don't know why it's so hard for me, but you know, when you miss one day, you start missing another, and there's always a reason to miss it, like always an excuse, and everything like that. So, still trying to get better and better at being more consistent, being more persistent, and just keeping on with these videos because I do like doing these videos. But sometimes, man, I be just feeling down. I was like, oh, what's the point? Or feel like I don't really have anything to show. That's my fault because I should be working on this on a daily basis. Um, and even like for breaks, like I think it is important to give myself breaks because I can be very um I can kind of tire myself, not tire myself out. Well, yeah, but there's a word for I'm looking for. Over. You get what I'm trying to say, but yeah, I can get to that point where I'm just working and working and working, and then I, you know, just get tired out. So, but I want to be able to do like even on breaks, I want to be able to talk about other things that I've interest in and everything like that. So, I definitely want to do more of that. But right now, starting this week, started way back in Tuesday, started the phase 5 up. So in phase 5 we're building our portfolios. So we're figuring out case studies, or how to build a case study, what to put in that case study, and how to build our website. Right now we're getting to the beginning parts of our kind of branding. So first couple assignments, I was talking to a career coach. It was building our values report, I believe it said. I'll show you in a second. And then um, was a personal statement and then personal branding. So I'm going to show that right now. Share screen. All right. So here you'll see my personal statement. First, I'm going to go with my values report. So this was an interesting assignment that really helped me to understand more about myself. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but yeah. So some strengths and weaknesses. Um, I always find it difficult to come up with my strengths. I only had like 5. I only had like 10 off the bat. And after talking with my instructor, he gave some other ones down here, that was just all of these based on what he's seen. So that was pretty cool as well. Most of these have been based on like what I hear other people say, or what I notice about myself. And then weaknesses are, things that, of course, I need to grow on, growth areas. So yeah, just doing all these, answering all these questions really helped me understand more about, what the type of workplace I would want to work in. You know, what about like when I'm applying for a job, what am I going to consider about their culture and their core values, and how do I make that uh, that balance and everything like that. So it was really cool to go through this. Um, yeah, but for this video, I wanted to go through my personal statement. Actually, I'm gonna go talk about some ideas I have for my personal brand, and then we'll go to this. Because I want to write a version 5 again based on my instructor. But like uh, so far, basically for the personal statement, I imagine it as like a about me almost, or for a professional setting and everything like that. So um, this first one I just started writing, and it turns out to be like kind of sort of about me as a designer, but I didn't really feel very confident or very good about it, so I did another one. But this one turned out to be kind of like more me as a person, what I'm doing right now, what I'm interested in and stuff like that. And then this one, I just started, just telling my story. I knew that this was gonna be way too long to put for this website or this portfolio thing, but it was interesting to write it, because when you talk about your own story, you tend to see things that you don't really normally think about in terms of your past. And finally, I did a version 4, and this one was kind of like the most, I guess, relevant. Like it had all the different parts that I wanted to put into it. But again, I knew it wasn't going to be like my my final form, final version or anything like that, because it was more of a, let me get things on the page, let me get things out my head and stuff like that. Um, and as I was talking with my instructor, he liked many of this as well, but he was thinking to make sure that I talk more about what I'm good at as a designer, what I'm interested in doing as a designer and things like that. Especially m- um, talking about my interests and my strengths in a way that best fits the type of product designer I want to be. Because as a product designer, the reason why I say product designer in the first place is because I feel like a UX designer is very not as, it's more of a persona per se rather than an exact role that people would have. And we've seen it, like they told us this in the beginning. Um, my first phase, uh, when we're choosing between UX and UI designer, they told us like what each of those focus on. Like UX designers focus on, um, mostly the research aspect, building, figuring out, how to what should be in the product, how it solves people's problems and stuff like that. While UI focuses more on the visual design, and which kind of influences how people look at the product and what they look at, what is important and stuff like that. Um, but they did point out in the very beginning that when you're looking for jobs, they're almost always focus more on the visual design side, or fuse UX and UI or something like that, or they're more uh, senior level. And it's frustrating because UX design really is a good job to have, but unfortunately it's something that's kind of underrated, because like the whole point of UX design is to focus on what the user wants. But most businesses are focusing on what the business wants, like the business needs and stuff like that. That's why they have customer service customer service teams and customer service just processes that are ultimately kind of on the back end. Like I did, it's kind of like a I think this one dude said it good in his blog. He said they treat you know UX. Oh no, Gary Tan said it. Yeah, Gary Tan on his video for Y Combinator. He said a lot of people treat customer service as like the garbage can of people's problems and stuff like that. But it should be the most important thing, because if people are complaining about this thing, that means that's something that you need to fix, right? And UX design is the ability to listen to what users are saying and solve those problems. But because businesses have a sort of incentive to or not incentive, but there's a very large, I want to say, pain point for the business, um, and listening to the users, because then they have to consider, what they have to make it like a calculus between maximizing profit and maximizing user friendliness. And unfortunately, to a lot of businesses, those are mutually exclusive, and so they don't usually hire for those UX type roles that center only on user designs. On the other hand, a product designer, they 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 know how to balance business needs with user needs. So even though they are still focused on what the user wants and needs, and like looking at their pain points and solving those solutions, they're also very much knowledgeable about the business side, and about the finances or the technical limitations, this, that, and the other, so they can bring that into the product life cycle. But unfortunately, that means that this is a more senior level position. So for me, that means going into this, I need to somehow bring in my experience and all these other things I've done to make myself seem like a good fit, or to show how I am a good fit for a product design role, even though I'm a entry level UX designer. So yeah, it's a lot to think about. But it's good thinking about it. And I do think I really can qualify for this role, because I really have done so much. Like especially when I was writing these, I realized, how much I've done. Like I've actually led teams. I've hired people. I've led people in several projects. I've I've trained people, and all of that goes into building out projects and everything like that. I've led full projects from end to end, from ideation to launching in the so product launch and stuff like that. So I've done a lot of that. Uh, Granted, most of that has been in like a startup, like a very small team. It's only been like 3 to 5, maybe even up to 10 of us. But I think much of that can be transferred into these larger corporations. And I'm not trying to be like a product designer at Microsoft or something like that. My goal is to be a kind of like a entry level product designer in a mid tier size business, to where I won't go in like expecting to be a manager or anything like that. But I I I do aim to go in as a like apprentice almost to a more senior level product designer. So I want to be a junior product designer to a in a mid-sized company that already has a design team, and so I can learn from them, and I can quickly um, learn how they do things, and then eventually show them my own skills, and show them how I can be a just value to their team. So writing all of this helped me to see all this about myself. So it's been a really cool process. Um, but I've also already started uh, my personal brand kind of ideas. As always, I'm super ambitious, so I know I'm gonna have to pare this stuff down, but it's good things to think about. Um, so these things that I want to kind of portray with my brand, I want it to be definitely about futurism, about creativity and technology and innovation. But I also want it to be about empathy. I want it to be about human centered products and business models, I guess. And I want people when they go on my site to feel like that wonder, to feel that spark of magic, that imagination. I want them to be inspired and excited about everything once they see my website, because I am a naturally ambitious person. I am a naturally aspirational person, and I know that can seem a little bad, like a little presumptuous to some people. But to me, it's a matter of that's just what interests me. Like I'm interested in super ambitious ideas and projects and products and stuff like that, and technologies. I want to work on the cutting edge of technology. I want to work on emerging technology, spatial technology, virtual reality, augmented, even quantum computing, photonic computing, all these other crazy things out there. I want to work with that stuff. So I want to portray all that through my website and make sure it's both cool and unique, but also highly usable. Like I feel like there's almost always too much of a assumption that innovation and usability has to be mutually exclusive. Like you always hear, especially as a designer, that you can be innovative, you can be really unique and out of the box, but that's going to take away from people's how easily your product can be used because it's different. Something that's very different is often something that people don't realize, don't really know how to use, and so it seems a lot of people assume that it's mutually exclusive, but I want to show that it's not. So these are the three ideas I have for that. One is a space patio kind of interface. This is what I've been working on for a little bit, but I have this really cool photo of like a space. I call it a space patio, but like it's not really in space per se. But it's on like on a cliffside, and there's like gold pillars, and there's a water on one side, and like a gold almost like brick patio type of, I don't know, layered thing. I'll show you one. I have it up here. So yeah, this is why I call it space patio. Maybe this is super science fiction because like real planet, like it would never be that close. It would disturb the gravity. It would destroy that planet. But it's a really cool, it's always a cool sci-fi look. So I always wanted something like this. Let's see if this one's built out. So yeah, you see, I was gonna make a 3D version of it. I haven't really gotten into it in a while. So, but I want to make like so it'd be 2D like this, and then you would have a little gate or something, a portal, like a magical portal, kind of rising out of the water, coming out of this side, and this is where you will see my latest work, my latest case studies or anything like that. It will show right here, and then maybe it'll be an introduction talking about me right here, and then over here it'd be like a nav menu, so it'll have my portfolio, and then have another one of these like boxes, canisters, and it say podcasts and blogs and social media or something like that. So it'll just be a really unique way of looking at like of a website, but it will still be highly intuitive to know what's what. At least that's the idea behind it. I know it might not turn out that way, but I don't know, something to aim for. But that's not the only idea. Another idea I have is, oh yeah, I wanted to add like dynamic lighting and um, like water effects there. So when it's rising out of the port, it'll be like a realistic water thing. And I think that would be super cool. And then yeah, perspective based parallax. So you can move the mouse or move your phone around, and then it will change the view just slightly, so it has more depth to it. Um, but this other idea I had was a futuristic hollow book. So this is like the for those Treasure Planet lovers like me, that book in the beginning where the kid is reading in like the little pirate story, and he opens a book and it's like just holographic pictures and movies going on in the book. I think that was so freaking cool. That always inspired and made me happy as a kid seeing that. So I would love to try to do something like that on my website. Um, and so each page will be like its own case study, and the picture will rise out like a hologram, and then you can have like little annotations pointing to giving more details about that case study, or you can have a case study could be like a whole chapter, right? And each page would be different part of that case study. So it could be different ways that I go through it. And on the side, you'll have a table of content, so you can easily go to each chapter. So again, highly, still high usability, even though it's very, very unique. So yeah, the flat book is just like an ebook where you read on a screen, and it's just turn the pages, stuff like that, like a Kindle or anything like that. So that could be like the basic version, but of course I'm going to aim for this really complicated one. So it's popping out of the book like a hologram. And then I'm not sure if this is a version per se, but like I wanted to see if I could include some type of map, so you can see like where I went, where I've been, or what you can easily see like what jobs I've worked at, or anything like that. I don't know, just a thought. And then this third idea is a more immersive website. So this is one I had for a long time. This idea I had for a long time of building menu systems and just website designs that are 3D based. And the major reason I wanted, or really I'm interested in doing this one, is because whenever people say, and I've talked about this before in a couple episodes, but whenever people say like 3D virtual reality, some other like people that are not so excited about it, like, okay, what's the use case? Like, why does 3D make it different? Why does 3D make it more valuable? Like, what value does putting it in a 3D space bring to the product? And for me, this like has really caught my attention because it's frustrating, because I'm like, it's cool. That's why that's the value. It's cool. But the designer in me is like, has to have a real use, and this is a big thing nowadays with minimalist design. Take out anything that doesn't provide value to it. Like if you can take it out and it doesn't change the content, then take it out. That includes 3D. So if you just have a 3D space but like a regular content that could be done just as well on a 2D space, then why did you do the extra work and put it in 3D, right? So I've been thinking about this a lot. So my idea for bringing extra value in the 3D space is to use the space to show more content than you can show on a 2D screen, without actually making it cluttered. So for instance, again with the case study, since I'm going to have a case study, right, there's a lot of things you want to talk about in the case study, but a lot of things that you cannot talk about because you don't have time, you don't have space. Like people only going to spend 5 minutes or less on your case study, so you can't go on and on and on talking about all the things you were thinking about when you went through this page. Usually a case study was a, a 2-3 week process. You usually have so much that you were thinking about, that you gain insights about. But when you're making a case study, you have to give overview of the entire process, so you can only show like the most important stuff, the most important insights, facts, and so on. But to me, that misses the opportunity to dive deep into your mindset, right? They do say that the purpose of a portfolio is not to talk about your case studies, is to get people to want to interview you so you can talk about your case study in the interview. And that's okay, but in my opinion, there's going to be a lot of people that look at your site who might never want to talk to you, or don't have the time, or just looking at your site because it just came across it, right? And even for the interview, um, you're going to want to pull up your website and show your case study again, right? So what if you can show your case study and then show some extra things that other people may not have seen, because that was like some secret hints or secret you know notes that you put in your website explicitly, so you can show it in your case study, right? So I'm not I'm hoping I'm making sense with this, but I imagine it as like you have a case study of like the last assignment I did with Quell. We can show like the grid view, and show we're probably going to only have like I'm probably not going to be able to talk about all the iterations I did on this grid view. I'm only going to be able to talk about, hey, this is how it started, but the users didn't like this, that, and the other, and so we created this grid view, right? But I'm also going to want to talk about the inspiration, like why the client chose that one. Why we didn't explore other types of views that might move the client to another one, or what other iterations of this view, of this view that we did that we would like to explore, or that influenced the end result. Like all these things that you won't be able to have time or space to talk about, you can put like little hidden notes in 3D space. So if it's a case study, like right here in the behind it, you can have all these different annotations. Most people won't find that, but for your own interview, you can like, oh, this is my case study, and then you can flip it around and it like has all these different annotations, and that might even delight other people that are perusing your site and just come across it. You're like, oh wow, I discovered this. And you can make it obvious to say, hey, you discovered a hidden, annotation, hidden, thoughts about this thing, congrats. So that will gamify your site. That'll make it more interesting. That will engage people to want to discover and want to explore your site some more. So you see that added value. So yeah, and then you can, like, if you want to have a favorites thing, most favorites things, you put it in like you press the little heart and it goes to like this little upper thing, or a wish list, or even like a cart. But what if you can have a 3D cart? And the value for that is because I find that, and I have to interview the other people to verify this, but I find that in a cart, and sometimes you're using a cart over a span of time and you forget what's in there. You don't want to go in there and see what everything is in the cart, because sometimes going back to the page doesn't work right, or going to the cart and then you're like, oh man, this is a lot of money. Maybe I should, just end it here. That kind of stops your exploration whenever you go to the cart, usually. Um, so what if you can see the cart, as you're putting things into it, whether it's favorites or if it's shopping cart or whatever, as you're putting things into it, you can see what you're putting into it. It stays there. It's persistent. So you can see everything there. And so whenever you want to pull anything out, you can just pluck it out of the cart without having to go to a separate page. So I think that brings value to it, because again, it increases engagement. Because whenever somebody has to go to a different page, even within your own site, it can decrease um, the engagement of that page that they were on before. So if you can allow people to do everything on one page without seeming cluttered, I think that's a huge benefit. So again, that's another really huge value that I want to have, and that's the kind of things I want to explore here. There's other things like just the format of the page. So I would have like a box. It's a simple box, like a cube, and you have like the pages, like a case studies as little cards within it, and you can move them around, right? So that's something I might play with. Maybe I'll let the customer move around, or maybe I'll sort them. If they put like most recent or longest case study or most valuable or whatever. If I have a lot of case studies, that would be more useful. Then right now I'm only going to have like 2, 3, maybe even 4, but that's it. um but yeah, just exploring different concepts. I've wrote a whole blog or 2 blogs about different, like, really interesting ways to design a website. Like, you can have a huge carousel, so each page is like a different cart in a carousel, so you can move it up, and then you have another one that's moving, or a merry-go-round page, so the entire page kind of rotates like that. It wouldn't really work too much for a 2D site, because it might make you feel dizzy and stuff like that, and people have complained about web pages that move in weird ways like that. But if it's in a 3D space, you can draw it back from the view screen, so that the page, you can still see the page moving to another page, so it has that really cool effect. But it doesn't impact the viewer, like how the comfort of the viewer. And the value of that, I don't know, it's cool though. But it will allow you to I think it will allow you to have a more organic navigation system, because a lot of times information architecture is so important, because on a 2D screen it's very hard to know where you are in the site. That's why they have um, breadcrumbs, right? Breadcrumbs at the top of a website, and pagination and all this stuff, because it's very easy to get lost in a 2D screen. It's just one screen, and then next, and it goes away. It's into the ether, and then it's the next screen, right? And we kind of have created ways for us to understand the virtual scape of the internet. But we live in a 3D world, so why not make the internet reflect more of our 3D world? So that's why I want to explore more of that, and see how effective that can be in making people more comfortable online, making navigation more organic, and just making it more cool. But yeah, so that's basically these 3 ideas. There's other ideas also, is like just having different sides of the box, or of a card or whatever, can explore different sides of the content. uh but yeah, there's a lot of ideas to go in there, and I'm going to be excited exploring these things. I'm probably going to do the 3D thing, because even though that's the most kind of unique, it's also the easiest, like, surprisingly, because these first 2, it requires a lot of art to make it look really good, and I'm not too good at the art part. Like, that's one of my weaknesses, is a visual design. And even though, yes, I should shore up my visual design, I simply don't have time to sit there and basically take a whole UI design course to figure out some really good designs and everything like that. But in the 3D space, I can kind of strengthen. I can kind of I can what do you call it? Emphasize my strengths, which is innovative thinking, to make up for my kind of lack of visual design, because I can design the 3D space really well, so that the design, the form, the function of the structure will compensate for the form. So I basically want the function to be so good and so elegant and so beautiful that it is in itself a visual art. So I think accomplishing that will bring me a lot farther than just making a typical website and trying to compete with other visual designers that are really good at this and really enjoy it. I don't enjoy trying to figure out all these colorscapes and typography and all this stuff. I want to do the bare minimum to make it like a really good, um like, to use a good palette and a good typography, but I want to focus more on the function, make the function so good that is artful, that is beautiful in and of itself. I think if I can accomplish that goal, then that's going to be a far more beneficial and a far more unique skill to have. Because when I go into another job space and they have their own product, I can focus on making their product so function so well that it's beautiful in the function, right? I think That's what makes products like Notion so good. Like they don't have some complicated, some dribble like beautiful UI, super UI stuff. Like Notion is super simple in terms of UI, but the function of it is so good that it's beautiful in and of itself, and it's so flexible that you can make it kind of almost whatever you want. They're a very minimalist design as well, so they focus less on the UI, but the UX is so good that the UI doesn't really matter. And that's the type of things that I want to work on. That's the type of things that I want to aspire to. So yeah, again, that's why I like having these videos. I can explore. I wasn't even thinking about this like to this depth um before, so it was good talking about it. I hope you learned something again, once again, always as always. And once again, I'm going to do better at doing these videos more consistently. Um, I got to figure out some good habits, habit stacking, and consequences and accountability and everything like that to make sure I'm always doing these videos no matter what's going on in my life. So, because I know it's going to help me, and I enjoy doing it, and I know it's going to help other people eventually. So, yeah. But thanks again, and I hope you have a good day. Bye bye.